Spousal benefits. There are many questions around spousal benefits. Who gets them? What if I'm divorced? What if I'm widowed? How does it work? So, what is that? There we go. It keeps moving. Thought I had it. Anyway, spousal benefits, individual benefit. Each spouse collects their own individual benefits, as you know. Now, you have a spousal benefit. There's a benefit that is called the, gosh, it just escaped me. Leroy, what is it when you increase by 50% of the spousal benefit? Boost. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just went blank. There's something called a spousal boost. And what that means is that, let's just say that a husband or wife is receiving $4,000 a month, and the spouse is receiving $1,000 a month in benefits. There's something called the spousal boost that will allow the spouse who received the lower benefit to receive at least 50% of what their spouse is receiving. So if your spouse is receiving $4,000 and you're getting $1,000, you'll get bumped up, or you'll get a boost up to $2,000. Everyone follow that? Okay. Anyone ever heard of that before? Gentlemen did. So now, the various benefits that are available to you from the Social Security Administration, at one point in time, they were automatic. They would say, oh, guess what? You qualify for this, and they will give it to you. Now, if you don't know, you lose out. You have to stay abreast and aware of what you qualify for to make sure that you put in for it, and so that you can receive that benefit. And I just wanted to make mention of this spousal benefit, because you may be that spouse who can benefit from this spousal benefit, but if you don't know, they're not going to give it to you. Survivor benefit. The widowed spouse collects up to 100% of the deceased spouse's benefit. So if, again, the husband is getting the benefit of $4,000, the wife is getting the benefit of $2,000, she has the choice of getting the benefit of her husband, which would be $4,000. Now, of course, you don't want to do that if you're the spouse that's receiving the higher benefit. Okay? I've been asked, so then will I receive both, my spouse and my own? Absolutely not. Government doesn't love us that much, right? Because it was the larger of the two. Right. All right. So therefore, the survivor benefit entitles you to 100% of the greater if it's your spouse's benefit is larger. Now, important aspects that you need to know. In order to claim a spousal benefit, you must meet these criteria. Be at least 62 years old and have been married for at least 1 year in order to get the spousal benefit. All right? You can elect to receive the spousal benefit before you reach full retirement age. However, the consequence to that is that you will be permanently reduced in your benefit unless there's a qualifying dependent child. Again, 62 years old is not full retirement. You are penalized if you don't wait for full retirement. So yeah, we'll give you the money, but you're going to get less. And when it comes to the spousal benefit, that's a permanent reduction. If you start your own regular benefit early and you switch to the spousal benefit, you will reach full, when you reach full retirement age, you may not receive the full spousal benefit. So again, it's very imperative that you are aware, if you choose to take your benefit before full retirement, understand what you're doing. Understand that you're going to leave money on the table. Are there scenarios in which that's the best situation? Yes, there are. There are some scenarios in which that's okay. But we have to look at your situation to determine whether that is best for you. Now, this is something that a lot of people may not know. If you do, please let me know. If you're divorced and you have been entitled to Social Security benefits, if you're 62 years old, you've been married for at least 10 years, you are unmarried. Pause. First of all, if you are divorced and you're entitled to the spousal benefits as a divorcee, what you receive has no impact on your ex-spouse. So this is not one of those, I can get them back by taking some of their benefits. Right? They don't even have to know that you're getting the benefit. It doesn't affect them at all, but it is something that you're entitled to if you meet this criteria. Now, here's the other thing. I've never experienced this, but a colleague of mine told me about a couple that had been dating for 10 years and refused to get married because they wanted to make sure that they met this criteria to get the spousal benefit. After the benefits begins, you can get married. It's just that you can't be married when you start the benefit. So people have delayed getting married in order to get the cash. Okay? Your ex-spouse is entitled. You may be independently entitled without your ex-spouse being entitled if your ex-spouse is 62 years or older, your divorce has been final for at least 2 years, and your own work benefits will be less than 50% of your ex's primary insurance amount. All right? So that's divorce. Survivor benefits. As I indicated, if you are a widow or widower, you're eligible to collect either your own benefits or 100% of your deceased spouse benefits, whichever is greater, but you will not receive both. All right? In order to do that, you are at least 60 years old. You must have been married for at least 9 months or 10 years if divorced. You remain unmarried until the age of 60. That's that little motivation to hold off, right? To make sure that you maximize that benefit. Now, we're going to switch gears a bit here as I talk about Social Security. It includes retirement planning. Retirement planning includes 401ks, pensions, investment accounts, so on and so on. One of the things that people don't like to talk about, don't pay much attention to, is fees. Can anyone tell me, if you have a 401k at your employer, what is the fee for your account? Most people don't know. This is what we do. You get hired, you find out your new hire pack, you fill out your new hire pack, you select your benefits, you're going to put your 5, 7, 10% inside of your 401k every year. You have no clue on what you're even invested in. They just said, make sure you contribute to your 401k. The max that they will match will be 5%. You put in 10%. I got to max it out. No clue. Just like Social Security, there's a method to the madness when it comes to your retirement accounts. Rule number 1, know the funds that you're able to invest in. Rule number 2, know the fees associated with the account. There are a lot of fees, I'm going to show you in a moment, there are a lot of fees that are associated with your 401k account that you don't even know. Okay? And rule number 3, if you're doing so, stop putting in above the match. Max out the benefit to the point that they match it, because now you're getting 100% return on your money. Also, by doing so, you're playing with house money. What do I mean? When the market goes up and goes down, well, if I put in 50 and they put in 50, if I lose 30, did I lose any money? That was house money, right? But when I start putting in $100 and $200 above, now I'm playing with my money. So we need to find a different account to put that extra money inside of, instead of your 401k exposing your money to the market. There's 2 things that we want to focus on in retirement. Guarantees and no risk. Guarantees and no risk. Because those are the things that can really impact us in our retirement. So I'm going to talk to you about what a little measly 1% actually means in numbers. And to do that, I'm going to tell you a story about Bob. Now, Bob had saved some money. He didn't need the money. He wanted to put it up for his grandkids. Okay? So he took the $200,000. He went downtown to Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, whomever you choose, and he said, I want to put this $200,000 up. I want to put it long term for my grandkids. I don't need the money. I just need you to invest it. Will you take my $200,000? They say, absolutely. We'll take the $200,000. He says, well, what was the fees? He said, we're just going to charge you 1%. Oh, just 1%. That means I keep 99%. Yes, you keep 99%. We just get 1%. Okay, that sounds like a deal. Let's go. So we take the $200,000 at age 65. He gives it to them. He begins to invest it. There's your $200,000. Now, Joe invested it until age 90. He didn't take any money out, and we have a conservative rate of return of about 5%, minus the annual fee of 1%. So when you do the calculation, his $200,000 made him a profit of $477,000. Okay, here we go. Now, that 1% begins to grow. When he starts out, the 1% is nothing. In 5 years, it's now 11%. 11,000, 25, 41. Can anyone tell me why this 1% fee is growing? Because the account is growing, right? So when we think 1%, okay, 1% of 200,000, that's nothing, I could do that. But when the money continues to grow, the fee that they charge also grows. So at the end of the time period, you'll see that he has lost over $86,000 in just fees. That's your money that's gone, right? Now, someone says, well, they have to eat. They have bills. That's not too bad. I'll pay the 1% for $86,000. There's something called lost opportunity cost. The money that is lost that could have been earned by the $86,000. What if you had retained that $86,000 and was earning 5% on that money? We don't think about that. We just see the 86% and be like, oh, don't worry about it. But that 86,000 could have made 5% on top of that. So now, when we go through here, here's the opportunity cost. That 86,000 could have generated you over another $68,000. Right? So we really lost more than $86,000. So let's do the math. We started out with 200,000. The 200,000 at a conservative rate of 5% grew to 477,000 in profit. But now we have the opportunity cost that was lost of the 63,605. That takes the 477. Let's go back. Yeah, 477. You deduct the 63, it just brings us down to 413. Are we done? No. Because we also have to deduct the 86,000 that we paid in fees. Right? So now, when we made 477,000 in profit, we really only made 326,000 in profit. All because of 1%. This is happening every day in your retirement account. If you have a 401k at your job, or if you have a brokerage account outside your job, and they're charging you a fee, which 100% of the possibility is that they are, this is what's happening in your account. Okay? Now, I went the wrong way. Okay, so that's over $150,000 of your money that has been lost. That, fortunately or unfortunately, many of us don't know about it, so we can't miss it because we didn't even think about it. But now tonight, I want you to think about that. Sorry to be the bad news guy, but think about that 1% and what it's actually costing you over time. So in essence, You have the $86,000 that you paid in fees, which now takes your net growth down to $326,796. In percentage-wise, you've given up 21%, not 1%. The 1% has turned into 21%. Okay? So we need to be aware of that. I told you earlier there are many fees that are inside of these different brokerage accounts. Advisor fees, expense ratios, wrap fees, dollar cost fees, transaction costs, all these fees. Anyone even know about these fees at all, that they existed? Two individuals.
I saw some sketchy fees.
Some sketchy fees.
Yeah.
No one does anything for nothing. Some places do just give you one fee and say all of our fees are in here. Most places don't. When you look at your bills, right? If you look at your gas bill or your light bill, do you see how many fees are in there? They don't give us just one number. They got municipal and this and that and your breathing tax. And I mean, it's a tax for everything, right? And we just look at the bottom number and we said, this is what I owe. And we pay it. The same thing is happening inside of our retirement accounts. Now,
those figures for an over 25-year period?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Now, there was a study that was done to determine, just about how many individuals are centurions or over the age of 100. And actually, there's 80,000, actually it's more now, but at the time, there was 80,000 Americans that were over the age of 100. Do you think that there were more women or more men?
Women.
Do you think that it was about twice as much, drastically more? What do you think the ratio was? Women to men. 60-40. Anyone else? 80-20. 80-20. Okay. Yes. So now, just for kicks and giggles, it has nothing to do with the presentation. I just want to know, anyone have an idea of why women live longer than men? They tend to go to the doctor more often. Someone said estrogen. Anyone else?
It's like the old joke, you married or you have.
I'll never tell that joke. Statistically, yes.
Yeah.
So what I find interesting here, however, is that women tend to outlive men, but in general, not always. Men are the breadwinners and men are the main source of income. And for many households, men handle the money. And so when women inherit all of this wealth, if you will, many women are unaware of how to manage it. My husband handles that. My husband takes care of that. And now you just get this whole inheritance of $2 million and you don't have an idea. Right? So I always tell my female clients, we want to make sure that when 100 years from now come and your husband is no longer here, because statistically they say you're going to live longer than him anyway, we want to make sure that you know how to handle what you guys have built.
More women are working and more women are getting just as stressed as the men got from the work. So their life expectancy is kind of getting up too.
I follow your rationale with that, but I don't know that statistically, because I also think that I wouldn't say better. I'll say women handle stress differently than men. I wouldn't say it's better or worse. It's just different. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Now, in your workbook, there's a sheet that says, will I outlive my money? All of that information here, the columns are really for your benefit to kind of do some quick math, put some numbers to paper, and figure out where you are. When you do your strategy session, you bring this sheet. It's the last three numbers at the bottom that are very important for us to have and to discuss in the strategy session. So make sure that you complete that. Now, how do I close the gap between income that you have and the income that you need? The number one rule of thumb is you have to first find out where you are. Most people don't know where they are. A lot of people may look at your retirement account and you see 500,000, 600,000. For some, they panic. How am I supposed to survive off 500,000, 600,000? For some, they get excited. They think it's a whole lot of money, right? Two things I want to point out. Once again, you tend to spend more in retirement than you do in your working years. The second thing you have to remember is the value of the dollar is eroding. The dollar doesn't go as far. So at one point in time where having $500,000 or even $1 million for your retirement, you were pretty comfortable. You felt pretty confident that you would be okay. But now the way that the dollar is constantly eroding, we have to be aware and give some attention to the fact that maybe that's not enough. What else can I do differently? All right. Now, here are a couple of retirement accounts that I want to go over. You have your Roth IRA, your IRA, your 401k, and your 403b. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of each. The pros of a retirement account is potential for match funds from your employer, which we all know. Hopefully, if your employer does match, that you are maxing that out to the match, not beyond. So if you're going beyond, I would strongly consider that you revisit that. You maintain some or all control over your account. That depends, because again, you need to know what investments are available in your retirement account at your job, right? Many people don't know. Here's another thing that people commonly do. How many of you have heard of the 60-40 rule? Two people, 60-40 rule, right? They'll take 60% of their assets and put it in risk, take 40%, put it in bonds, and they feel like they're hedging their bets. There's another one where people are taking their age, subtracting it from 100. How much money should I have in safety where I can't lose it? And how much should I have exposed to the market? So they'll take their age. I'm 60 years old. I'll say I'm 60 years old. So 60% of my money should be safe, and 40% of my money I can put into the market. Okay? That strategy is a strategy that has been used within the industry for many, many years in order to simplify retirement planning. I tell you, retirement planning is as individualized as each individual in this room. I do not believe in cookie cutter strategies. I do not simply say, ma'am, how old are you? Okay, we're going to do this. I have to consider, what are your expenses? What are your goals in retirement? What other sources of income do you have? Are you married? Do you have children? It's so many things I have to consider. I just cannot simply say, because of your age, this is how your portfolio should be balanced. That's what a great number of financial advisors do. They run a financial model and they'll tell you, historically, the stock market has performed this way, that way. The last 5 years, has it been looking like anything historically lately? These are uncharted times. These are things that our parents never saw. Like, what is going on right now? Like, really? Whether you're for or against, it's never been seen before. So you can't use cookie cutter strategies to try to plan your future based off what your parents did, your grandparents did, or some financial model that was made by a nerd in the actuary department. It doesn't work, right? And at the end of the day, you're the one that comes up short. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. The cons, potential loss due to market risk. Market risk, we have to try to, the best of our ability, eliminate risk from our portfolio. We're on the back side of the game. We're on the back nine, as they say in golf, right? We're on the back nine. We can't take the risk like before. It's fully taxable at distribution, except Roths. You take the risk of investment decisions and income distributions with all of these different retirement accounts. Now, defined benefit pension plans. The pro is very simple. The benefit is known as a known amount. First of all, we all know pensions have pretty much gone by the wayside, right? They're guaranteed for life, it's gone. There's various reasons why they got rid of the pension, but nonetheless, it's gone. The con is that there's only one plan. You have no say in the investments. Most are not inflation adjusted, and it is fully taxable, which most retirement plans are fully taxable unless it's a form of a Roth, okay? But that's your pension. Now, let's talk about your investments, such as dividends and interest that comes from stocks, CDs, bonds, mutual funds, and the like. All of them are subject to reinvestment risk, no guarantee of your principal protection or growth. It can go up, it can go down. You can lose it, or you can make $1 billion. Okay? Earnings are usually taxable, and the principal protection is limited. Okay? Remember, I talked about in retirement, we want to focus on two things: guarantees, no risk. Okay? Now, annuities, whether they're deferred or immediate annuities, protection from low interest rates, tax deferral on your earnings, like your current retirement account if you have at your employer, or an IRA, things of that nature. No mandatory distribution with annuities. Okay? And finally, guaranteed income for life. There's that word guarantee we talked about. When you have your brokerage account and you have money, other retirement accounts that are qualified, at a certain point, can anyone tell me at what point, at what age are you required to begin to take distributions?
70.5. 72.
No, from you.
Is it
72. It's been increased to 72. The government said, we have waited long enough for your money. It's time for you to pay us your money, by the way, that you risked in the market. Right? So when you have deferred or immediate annuity, there is no requirement minimum distributions that are mandatory, and you can have guaranteed income for life if you choose